Actually, this whole month and the month before it on the power of receiving and giving has really been working me to look into my concepts around giving and receiving, because they're the bookends to each other that I learned from my family of origin and my religion of origin. We're using this book, The Power of Giving. It's all about how giving enriches our lives, and we started off in week one asking the question, well, why give? And the authors answer the question in a number of ways, among them, because it's an amazingly beautiful experience. Giving is just wonderful to do. And secondly, because there are benefits, including physical well-being, and built into it is the ability through our giving that we have to make a substantial difference in this world. And also, that giving is the antidote. It's the recipe for getting out of stuckness in your life. That's how you keep the door open. Second week, we talked about, well, what do I have to give? That's where we looked at the list of things. Apart from our material wealth and our cash, there's so much that we have that we can give. Attention, compliments, time, expertise, caring, understanding. And at the heart of it is this idea that you and I ought never to think of ourselves as someone who has nothing to give. In fact, we can redirect our attention away from the dollar value of a gift and instead look at the infinite circulating power, the duplicating power that a small act of giving has to repeat itself and go beyond its original action. We talked about paying it forward and the ripple effect, and so many people wrote to me and told me about their own ripple effect that they've experienced in their lives, and I've been very grateful to receive those messages. And this week, now we're talking about, to whom shall I give? Who shall I give to? So I've been thinking about that and reading the book and thinking about the non-physical gifts, the non-material gifts I give. Like, how do I give attention? To whom do I give attention? And can I expand on that? Can I do it any better? Can I become even more giving with my attention? Because I notice I've got a narrow scope. And it was brought to my attention by a satirical online blog. It pokes fun at the news. It's called The Onion. And it's pretty in your face, The Onion, because it pokes fun at all. It sacrifices all the sacred cows of our society. But this particular page, it started off quite seriously, and it said, a tribute to all of the people we lost in 2014. And it was a slideshow, and you had to click on each slideshow. And there were these significant names of celebrities and people in the world, Maya Angelou and Lauren Bacall and Shirley Temple, and then the final slide, when you clicked it had the caption at the bottom said, oh yeah, and all of these people died too, and there were like millions of faces on it. And these are the people that the news gave no attention to. And it stopped me in my tracks, and I thought, wow, how easy it is for me to give the best portion of my attention to celebrities, or to whatever the news is saying is happening. It's not that celebrities don't deserve my attention, or the world doesn't deserve my attention. I'm just being reminded that there are all these other people in my life to whom I can give my attention. I can improve on that. I can definitely do better. I think there's an opportunity for me to focus on the regular, ordinary people that are real close to me in my life, because it turns out they are amazing. Just amazing. So I want to practice being as interested in the people around me as I am in the news and in celebrities, because otherwise I might start to think that the only reality is what happens in celebrities' lives, or what is being reported in the news, and there's trouble with that. So I'm taking on a project this week, and maybe it's a project you'll take on. The project is make someone, best friend, your daughter, your son, your cousin, your neighbor, somebody in your family, make them into a celebrity for a week. And give them your focus like you would, obsessively, to a celebrity. Now, don't be weird about it. But be generous. For example, Tell everyone about their best qualities. Tell them about their best qualities. Share the best kind of gossip about them, about who they are and how they've touched your world. Notice them. Become a fan. I'm going to try it out, especially since I've had that aimed at me. I have a friend, a very good friend, and whenever he introduces me to other people, no matter how famous and accomplished that person may be, he always introduces me as if that person is so lucky to get to meet me. It's just kind of awkward, except that I really enjoy it very much. Once he's very well connected in Hollywood, and he introduced me to a famous movie star, and I was starstruck. I couldn't even speak. I couldn't even say hello. I just stood like that. But he talked, and Edward this, and Edward wrote the book, and Edward did that, and I just stood there like this. But I came away from that introduction feeling 10 feet taller. I realized that giving attention is something powerful that we can give to people. And he does that with me, but he doesn't do it only with me. He treats people like that. He treats people as if they are truly amazing. And to be in the company of someone who gives that kind of attention, people are just drawn to him, like metal to a magnet. And he never seems tired of pointing out what is wonderful about the people around him. So it's helping me. I want to look at my attention and where I'm giving it and make a decision to expand where I give it, because it might be the case. I might be creating the world through the attention I give and to whom I'm giving it. It's one of the central ideas of metaphysics. Might as well have a look at it. Right? One of our sacred cows. Don't practice what we preach. I hate it when the room goes quiet like that. So the first point is their attention is something we can give. So give the spotlight of your attention to someone real close to you this season and see how lovely that is. Oh, you'll enjoy it. There's a lovely story I want to tell you. It happened about a year, maybe 2 ago. I can't remember exactly. It's about a runner, a cross-country athlete. He was in an event. His name was Ivan Fernandez Anaya. Anyway, he was on this run, and he was doing very well, except he was clearly going to come in second place. Was the runner in front of him was just making too much of a gap. He wasn't going to be able to close it. So he's coming in second. And the runner in front of him was the Kenyan, Abel Mutai. And for some reason, Abel, the Kenyan, I got confused, and he thought the end of the race was he stopped before he got there. Right? He got confused. And so the crowd is shouting at him in Spanish, keep on going. Of course, he's Kenyan. He doesn't know what they're saying. Right? So he's about to lose his victory. And instead of surging past him, the Spaniard slowed down and started prompting him and guiding him and pointing him to the actual finish line. In other words, he gave him his victory. In the moment when he was about to lose, he gave him assistance instead of taking advantage. This is what he said in an interview. This is the Spaniard. I didn't deserve to win. I did what I had to do because he was the winner, and he had created already a gap that I couldn't have closed even if he had made the mistake, even if he hadn't made the mistake. As soon as I saw he was stopping, I already knew I wasn't going to pass him. See, not everyone thinks like that Spanish athlete. Sometimes when people are winning, oftentimes people will think it's all right to take away from them. Some people think that when you see an opportunity, you're to take it. And it's okay to take someone if they've already done well. And the Spaniard might have said, hey, that Kenyan, he won last year in London. He's not doing too bad. I need this more than he does. But he didn't. He did what he had to do. And that's the second point. Who can I give to? Oh, there's so many opportunities to give to those people who are just about to make it but are going to fail. Through some simple error that maybe they don't know how to do it, maybe they lose their courage, maybe they lost their way. And we have the wherewithal, we see it, we notice it, but to take it deeper than notice and give them their victory instead of snatching first place all the time because of a technical difficulty. To be true and do the right thing. Another idea I learned at the Center for Spiritual Living was this idea that I can expand the range of who I give to. I could expand my giving because I had a really narrow idea about giving, especially when it came to charity, because I connected charity through my family of origin and my religion of origin. I connected charity with giving to those people who are in need or were less fortunate than me, which is good. And I think I ought to carry on giving like that. But I also learned that you can give in another way, because otherwise giving can be so tightly connected with need and less fortunate that it has this sad quality to it and can almost become a burden. So I had to expand that. Let me see if I can illustrate this with how I water plants. I'm not very good at it. I tend to let my watering habits be motivated by need. If a plant looks like it's not going to make it, I will water it. But not until then. It's not a good system. My friends who are gardeners have a different approach. They water regularly in a dependable way, and they water according to the need of the plant, and it produces a whole different result. Their watering is driven by this desire to maintain and nourish and celebrate. It's a joy to water. I give water when it looks like death is imminent. So instead of enjoying the watering or the giving, it becomes always associated with rescue and can become a burden. Then I want to avoid it. It's like I notice a healthy tomato plant and say to it, look, I'm not going to water you. You appear to be fine. However, I'm going to take everything that you produce. So keep up the good work. You know, I had a friend, and we used to run together a lot. And he attended the center services. It was many years ago, and I got to talking to him about a difficulty we were having at the center. We were having financial lean times, and I got to talking to him about it while we were on a run. And I noticed he was getting super squirmy. You know, and I said to him, what's up? Why is this making you uncomfortable that I'm talking about the center being needy? He said, well, look, frankly, I got to tell you, I come to services, but as soon as the offering begins, I leave. And I said, why is that? And it's not that he didn't have money. He wasn't struggling. And it's not that he didn't get anything and he didn't appreciate the center. He did. He explained it this way. He said, well, you know, it's just that you guys don't need it. And so I figure that when the offering comes, the service is done for me and I get out of it to miss the rush. And that really made an impact on me. You know, I thought of the tomato plant. I thought, he came and he got his tomato and he left without watering. And I tried to talk him into it. I couldn't help connect him to the idea. He couldn't see the need to support something that was already functioning well. We don't run anymore for different reasons. But you know, I learned a lot about giving from running and cycling. I mean, I think cyclists and runners know that if a person waits until they are hungry or thirsty and tired to nourish and hydrate themselves, it's too late. It's going to take longer to recover and keep on going doing good things. You have to hydrate and nourish while you're still feeling good, so you can go on to do great things in the world. I noticed that if I let a plant go dry long enough, it often be the case that it'll get to a point where it can never recover. So for us, don't let your family and friends, don't wait until they are desperate for your nourishment. Or don't wait until the world is almost completely broken before you give it your attention, before you vote, before you give your voice, before you express. So I learned that at the Center for Spiritual Living, to not let my giving be only about responding to need, but to let it also be the idea of giving in the direction of my vision to see what I value prosper in the world. Both. I'll give you an example. We have 12 non-profit partners that we choose every year. Organizations that are doing work in the world that we value and wish to see prosper in the world. And when we select them, we don't go out and look for those who are meeting the most need in the world or those that are broke. What we go out for is to look at those organizations that resonate with our values. We try to imagine, what would a world be like without compassion? What would a world be like without art? So we might select organizations that are thriving but are doing work that really resonates deeply with us in our value systems, as well as organizations that are meeting real needs in the world. It's both and. And that's the third point, I think, for me around giving, is give both to relieve need and also to support the values you resonate with in the world so that it can prosper. I think the most important thing for me about giving is to give in such a way that it feels good. So that my giving is free from obligation, free from pity, free from control. I think that's important. I'm trying to figure that out. Because giving out of obligation, or because you've been guilted into giving, or because there is an expectation that you ought to give, there's something unpleasant about that. There's some stuck energy around it. That's how I express it. Now, you've heard me talk about my family in the past 2 weeks, how generous they were and how kind they were, and they surprised me with the gift of the piano when it was so difficult for them to afford it. You've heard me tell you over and over again how just their generosity and how inspiring it is. So is it okay if I tell you that at the same time they were the most manipulative guilters on the planet? You know how both things can be true at the same time? Oh. Especially at birthdays and holidays. Because, there were a whole new them came out. It's like somebody watered them by accident and they turned into monsters. Because there were definite expectations, and if somebody gave a gift, the recipient was supposed to take note of it and give a gift of equal or more value in a timely manner and with appropriate expressions of gratitude. Took me a long time to unlearn that, because that kind of giving, it was more like a game of chess, the purpose of which was to win. It took me a long time to learn how to give from my heart and to be okay, and to really understand that the hooks about what the gift was worth in dollars had nothing to do with me. It took me a long time to redirect my giving and to really value the idea of giving love and service and attention and compliments and to learn to give not only when expected and demanded by the season or by people, but give any time I wanted to, because it was my heart calling me to give. So I started giving gifts at any time I liked. just not on birthdays and at Christmas. See, I was in reaction mode. I was a very strange child. but I was trying to make a point, you know. And so it was exactly what I needed, was I had to break from that hypnotic state that says if you don't give in a certain way and at a certain time, there's something wrong with you. It's not true. Can you imagine how terrifying it was as a young man, that first Christmas that I arrived, giftless, because I had decided to abstain from the mandatory gift giving? Oh, and I had to sit there and be the recipient of all their gifts. I was shaking. I'm getting nervous just remembering it. Oh, and then when I started giving them surprise gifts in the middle of the year, it helped me come back to this idea that giving can be an activity that lets you feel good. About once a year, twice a year sometimes, I'll take 2 days off in succession. And I'll post a message on the bulletin board that the ministers in our movement, where they communicate. And I'll say to them, I've got 2 days off, I'm staying at home, my time is yours, would anybody like to speak about anything? And I'm always surprised, I'm not surprised, but how many ministers need someone to listen to them? And my 2 days are always full, and I'm never exhausted from it. I always feel like I was the recipient of the gift. So I try to make sure I do that at a time that is not mandated by anything, just when I want to. And it's always received, and I love that. Some people tell me they go through the same journey, learning how to, unlearning about giving because they learned some difficult messages from their family of origin or their religion of origin about giving to church, you know. And they're stuck around it. And, you know, I just tell them what works for me. If you have those feelings, don't give. Because, if you think an organization is manipulating you, don't give. And then the rush of freedom and creativity you'll experience once you unhook yourself from that and see that there is no consequence other than your freedom. It will free you up to decide what you want to do with your natural inclination to give. Now, I recommend people give somewhere that resonates with your values, where there is already an established basis of trust and goodwill. So that's completely free. And when you do it, you go like this. And likewise with people. Today we're talking about expanding our idea of giving. And I don't think it would be a complete message if I had omitted the importance of also giving to yourself. Sometimes that's where people trip up and get empty. They haven't taken care of themselves. In the book, The Power of Giving, the authors write this: you may be familiar with the expression, charity begins at home. Sadly, people who want to spend their money only on themselves quote this proverb as an excuse to avoid giving at all. See, I had to watch out for that when I decided I was going to give on my own schedule. I had to watch out that I didn't become lazy and use that as an excuse to not give at all. Right? Got to watch out there. They say, we believe that charity begins at home has a different meaning. In its pure form, charity equals love. The at-home part means you begin with charity towards yourself. So what could you possibly give to yourself? We heard a little bit of it mentioned in the song. You could, for example, give yourself a break. This is the season to do it. For some of us, we just adopt standards that are too high. Experiences that if they don't go just right, they're a failure. Things that have to be done at an inhuman pace and at inhuman time. Just give yourself a break. Fail a little bit. What else could you possibly give yourself? Oh, in the song it said, a time out. Because, constant exposure to people. I made the mistake of going to the mall yesterday on the Saturday before Christmas. And no matter how cheerful the music in the mall is, you can just feel the air is like, constant exposure to print advertisements, noise, and the fast-paced rushing towards a perfect event can make a person exhausted and forget to hydrate. So give yourself some pampering, you know? I mean, if you're the plant that hasn't been watered for a while, don't wait for someone else to get the hint. Give yourself what you need to thrive. And maybe that's a walk in the rain and nobody else understands it. Or maybe it's a selfish movie alone. Or maybe I don't know what it is. But the idea is if you do, your family will be better off too. The world will be better off too. Because if you keep on going too long, like some of those plants, you'll go past the point where it's easy to recover. It'll help you be a better giver. So I invite you to breathe in now and exhale, letting your eyes close as we recognize together that one source from which we all come. Whether we call it God or love or spirit, we are talking about the same thing, the infinite something upon which we all stand, in which we all move, that is the source of our being, that invisible, creative energy, that mind, that thought of creation that has given rise to this, our lives, to this reality. We recognize it so that we may remember it is also our home, and that in some amazing way we are expressions of it, constantly creating new ways to express its original nature. Everything we do and say and think, we are channels of its infinite beauty and power with complete freedom. And so I salute that, I acknowledge that, and I remember with you, we remember together that I am a point of divine activity within the mind of the One, and I am free in this moment to direct my expression in any which way I want. This allows me to feel a sense of relaxation. I'm refueling right now so that my focus is clear. I can see what needs there are to be attended to. I can see where my heart is prompting me to contribute. I see it all clearly, and I am not dismayed or hypnotized by the messages of society. I draw my clarity from the one mind within, and I am at home in the heart of God. With deep gratitude, I release this word of prayer into that aspect of divine law that responds to us instantly, establishing us in this sense of awakening. And so it is.